All right, we're ready to start. If you can please take your seats, we will begin the Rolling Meadows Aldermanic Candidate Forum.
Okay, like our last session, we're going to give a 2-minute opening statement to each candidate. We've sat them in order by ward, and we've indicated their ward number in front of them, so please be sure if you can't see, just come up after and make sure you know their name so you remember who was speaking. And we're going to start with the 2-minute opening statements with, let me make sure I say it right.
That's the right page.
Laura Majakis.
Thank you. Thank you. As was just stated, my name is Laura Majakis. First, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for this forum today. It's much appreciated. I think it's an excellent forum for the residents to have. A little bit about myself. I've been the alderman in the 3rd Ward for the past 6 years. I was appointed when former Alderman Larry Buskey passed away, and then I ran for re-election. I have lived in Rolling Meadows with my husband since 1990. His family moved here in the early 60s. When I was younger, and with my family, we moved around 7 different times. So I never found that town, that city that became a home. And when we were married, I said to him, I want to live in Rolling Meadows. I really want to walk to Diamond Fest mostly, but that kind of went to the wayside, so, which I'm sure all of you did. But it has become our home and a place that we love. And so I have enjoyed being an alderman these last 4 years. I have put myself out there for the residents, make myself available. I get calls at 8 in the morning sometimes, but I'm more than happy to talk to the residents. I'm also on the Economic Development Committee. Was a member of the ad hoc committee for the new comprehensive plan for the city. I volunteer many events throughout the city, National Night Out, Block Party. I've been involved with the News and Views and our new Business Messenger newsletter. I think what's most important here is that people realize that I want to help and I want to make our city better. And so I appreciate every resident that's come to me, and I hope that I can continue to serve the city that I love. Thank you.
Okay, and next from Ward 3, we have Kevin O'Brien.
Great. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to come on and everybody coming out. I think it's a great thing to see is being educated. I think it's definitely a collaborative effort is what the city needs between the residents and the city council. And that's why I threw my hat into the ring, is because numerous times over the last several years, I've had residents come up to me just talking, if it's at Jewel, if it's at Reps, if it's at one of the other local events as well, is they just want to be heard. And so that's why I threw my name in the ring. I'm probably a new name for a lot of people. A little bit about me, I'm a 13-year veteran of living here. My wife and I, Kim, have raised our 2 children here. Sabrina's a freshman at Arizona State University, and Adam's a sophomore at the high school here as well. Currently serve on the Park District Board as the president of the Park District, as well as a member of the Planning and Zoning Commission here in town as well. So what I'm most looking forward to is that collaboration, and the diversity across the 7 wards here is coming to an agreement on what's best for the residents for the city of Rolling Meadows. So I look forward to the opportunity of working with each of you, and I feel that I've become a trusted source over the 13 years I've been a resident, where people will come to me to talk about ideas, general consensus or concerns, and I make sure to get those concerns addressed through the right government body. Thank you.
Okay, and the other candidate from Ward 3 is Deborah Bannock. 2 minutes.
Hi, for who don't know me, my name is Deb Bannock. I would first like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting on the forum today. I would also like to thank the citizens who have come out today to hear and hopefully be able to vote. A little bit about myself. I've been in the city for the past 60 years. We moved here when I was 4 or 5 years old. We originally lived on Hawk Lane. My backyard was the cornfield. It was the cornfield all the way out to Kirchhoff Road. I remember when the public pool was first built. I have gone to schools that no longer exist here. Jonas Salk is now the senior center. Carl Sandburg Junior High, when I went there, was not a junior high. It was just Carl Sandburg. My husband and I have raised 3 children here, Tiffany, Matthew, and Megan. They in turn have all married, and they have all bought homes in Rolling Meadows. And now my 9 grandchildren are now attending the schools that they attended, and some that I have attended. I've spent 60 years as a citizen of Rolling Meadows, but the last 17 and a half years I have been an employee of the city of Rolling Meadows. And we have some of the best hardworking employees in both our city hall, police, fire, and public works department. But I've also spent, I'm dry. But I've also spent the past years watching our city make decisions and unable to voice my own concerns as a citizen. It was difficult to sit by and know there were questions that needed to be answered, and more importantly, answered by our government leaders, and never were. I may not know all the answers, but I certainly know the questions that need to be asked of our city leaders. I have seen the inner workings of how our city operates. I believe this knowledge allows me to hit the ground running and focus on the issues that are important to Ward 3. The citizens expect and deserve that their interests are heard for every decision made. Thank you.
Okay, and now for Ward 5, we have Glenn Adams.
Hi, good evening, and I just want to echo what everyone else here has said and thank the League of Women Voters for volunteering their time for putting on this event. I've been a lifelong resident of Rolling Meadows and the 5th Ward. My mom and dad moved out to the 5th Ward, Cedar Street in 1962, but I found them again. I always loved that joke. But you know, I grew up in the 5th Ward, and when my wife and I were first married, due to a lack of available starter homes in Rolling Meadows at that time, we lived in another suburb. And one of the things we quickly realized is that even though suburbs may look alike, they're not all alike, and city services in that other suburb that we had lived in weren't very good. And when it came time to sell our home, we came back to Rolling Meadows, came back to the 5th Ward. We first bought a home over on Willow Lane, then moved to our current home over on Oak Lane. I served as Alderman from 1997 to 2011, and during that time I did my best to reach out to residents to get their opinion on issues. Not only did I reach out to the residents that are in the homes, but I also went out and talked to the people at like East Park Apartments. I met with like management team. I would meet with the management of the Coach Homes of Willow Bend, meet with the board of directors of the you know, some of the other multifamily dwellings that were there. And you know, and I valued the opinions, and a lot of times when I got opinions from residents, it actually changed the way that I voted. One was when we had the vote on the 3rd fire station. I was all set to go for it, but the residents of the 5th Ward said no, we didn't need it, so I changed my vote. So I do hope that you'll give me an opportunity to represent you once again come April 2nd. Thank you very much.
Okay, and also from Ward 5, we have Joe Saffron.
Afternoon, I'm Joe Saffron, and I'm running for 5th Ward Alderman. I'm new to this. This is not something that I would have normally thought of doing, but after talking to our past Alderman, he encouraged me, since I've always brought up good ideas to him, that this might be a good avenue for me to pursue since he was no longer going to run. I'm a little discouraged because a lot of the views and stuff that I would express to him or past or current council members when they had ideas that were being brought up at the council meetings, I would be told that, oh, those are good ideas and I'm going to have to, you know, bring those up at the next meeting, and I'd be watching her there and nothing was said. So I was, again, trying to figure out how can my voice actually be heard and how can I be listened to. But that's what I wanted to get across, is it's not just my ideas, my views, but I want to hear what my ward, other people in the community have to say, because it's not only what's good for the neighborhood, it's good for the city. So, thank you.
Great, and then from Ward 5, John DeSessi.
Thank you.
Thank you.
2 minutes, you got it?
It's on now?
No, you turned it off. There you go.
Thank you. Thank the League of Women Voters again, library, and especially everyone who's out there in the audience who's spending their time to come and get informed regarding the candidates for their various wards and mayor. Basically, I'm a person, I consider myself someone with extreme integrity and a real love for this city. I've been a resident and volunteer within the city for 28 years. I am really not that much of a political person. I am running for office to give the residents of the 5th Ward representation that will solicit community feedback prior to voting for things that will significantly impact their way of living or their pocketbook. We've had representation at times that felt, I was elected, I'll make the decision, not wanting to do referendums, things like that. I would like to hold town hall meetings and especially on the larger issues, be ready available for the residents of the ward. I've been a member of the Plan Commission for 16 years. Last 2 years I've been the president of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We've recently been working on our latest comprehensive plan. I've worked with various departments in the city to coordinate events like the 4th of July, which I did from 1999 until the 50th anniversary. Over the years, I've seen the council get more and more political. There's been too much arguing and egos and not enough compromise. When the community, so I'd like to try and change some of that. Also, I want the community to maintain the charm that made me decide to live here and raise my children here. I don't want it to become just another suburb. I'm kind of really tired of, well, Schaumburg does this, Palatine does this. We're Rolling Meadows. Bye.
Okay, and now from Ward 7, we have Robert Williams running. 2 minutes.
I will add to everybody here that thank you for sticking around. I'm the neophyte on the council right now. I got on in August by appointment, and it's been a learning experience for me. There are any number of issues that have occurred over that period of time that have been rather sticky, to say the least, some of which the groundwork was laid 10 years ago, and they have actually gotten to the place where they're at over a 10-year period. I'm a 43-year resident of the city, 28 of those in Fairfax Village. I am currently the president of Fairfax Village. I am an ex-president of the Rolling Meadows Chamber of Commerce, and I own my own business here in the city for 18 years, which I sold, and am now an old FUD retired person. I find that the city itself is absolutely wonderful. We need to find vehicles to get your opinions better than we have gotten them, than they have, the council has gotten them in the past. We need to buffer and set up information systems that work better than they do now in order to get the information out to you, because I find that a lot of the residents don't know all the facts to make a decision on their own from. And I want to make sure that you know as much as we do, and I hope that I can serve you for another couple of years here. Thank you much.
Okay, and also from Ward 7, we have Laura Sanoika.
That is correct. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this event today, and thank you to all of you for coming here because you care about the leadership team of this city. I also care about the leadership team of this city, which is why I'm running for Ward 7 Alderman for Rolling Meadows. My name is Laura Sanoika, and I live in Rolling Meadows for my whole life. As an involved resident, I am concerned about 3 main issues: flooding, supporting our local businesses, and engaging our community and increasing community involvement. In Rolling Meadows and in Ward 7 in particular, we have major flooding concerns. My neighbors and I are always concerned that we will have water in our homes after any storm. I joined the Rolling Meadows Environmental Committee to try and resolve this issue, and it was then that I realized that our recommendations needed support from the City Council in order to implement those solutions. Regarding our city's economic development, business owners have made a point to say that working with the City of Rolling Meadows is difficult, which unfortunately has the possibility of damaging current relationships and possible future partnerships. So I lastly want to increase community engagement. with our government decision making. As your alderman, my job is to communicate what our issues are with the city so that you know beforehand what the issues are and you're not reading about them in the Daily Herald the next day after a vote has already occurred. On that note, if you have an issue that is important to you, I encourage you to approach me after the candidate forum and we can discuss those together. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you for your opening statements. We're going to start with the first question, and we're just going to rotate in order, and we're going to start in Ward 3 with Kevin. Okay, Kevin O'Brien, we're going to start with, and the question is, there are multiple business properties sitting vacant for years. What would you do to rectify the problem that has not been there before now?
Great, thank you. That's actually one of the topics that's near and dear to my heart, because the current concern I have as a resident is what's going to happen with the 2 vacant properties at the fire stations. Once those are moved, that's water under the bridge now. We've got to look forward. I'd like to continue working, as we've heard during the mayoral candidate, is on the economic development. I believe there's other non-property tax increase revenue streams for the city. It's great that video gaming has come through and has been passed into a couple locations now, but I feel that's a big thing, is that we do have to stimulate the economy even more through some potential incentives that are available in the city and increasing that as well. And also potential, there's been a lot of houses for sale here too, is stimulate the residential impact, which could also bring back more businesses to the city of Rolling Meadows. Thank you.
Okay, and now from Ward 3, we're going to hear from Deb Bannock.
Can you repeat it?
Sure. There are multiple business properties sitting vacant for years. What would you do to rectify that problem that has not been done through now?
I think we need to address the issue of who really in the city goes out there to do these properties when they're sitting vacant like this. We've got Sam's Club still sitting vacant. You know, we've got Dominic's property sitting vacant. 20 years is a long time. What are they doing? The people now on the boards, on the committees, what are they doing to bring it forward? Until I get in, I don't know all the ifs, whys, and s's of the issues. But we definitely need to revitalize. And not only revitalize, but the people that are in control right now, what is the accountability of them? What is the accountability that the Sam's Club is sitting vacant? Why is Dominic's 20 years? You know, we hear so much, but yet still nothing is ever done. Thank you.
Okay, great. Now we're going to go into Ward 5 and we're going to hear from Glenn Adams. There were multiple business properties sitting vacant for years. What would you do to rectify this problem?
It's a tough question to answer in just 1 minute, but I've been involved with the Economic Development Committee for a few years now, and one of the things that we started taking a look at is doing various incentives. We had worked on an incentive over here to bring restaurants into vacant properties in our city. We're currently talking about some other incentives to work with businesses. One of the things that our city's gotten involved in is a program called the Next Level Northwest, where we're trying to work with existing small businesses that are in the certain suburbs over here. And what we're doing is we're working with a group that is going to coach them and help them grow, and hopefully get them to grow and fill up some of these vacant properties that we have throughout the city. Thank you.
Okay, and then from Ward 5, we have Joe Safran.
Well, I guess my question would be what the business advocate is actually doing. I thought that was one of her responsibilities, is to go out and try and promote, these vacant properties to get businesses in. And I don't know exactly how many there are out there, but I do notice, Steak and Shake is gone now. Sam's has been vacant for quite some time. What else are we going to lose because we don't have the proper channels going back and forth with our businesses? That's what was done and said in one of the studies, is the communication is not there. So, that's the big problem, and whether it's the council or the business advocate, the communication, that's what's driving this whole election, it seems, is the lack of communication everywhere.
Thank you. John Besessi?
Yeah, I've noticed it as well, a lot of the vacant properties in that. In fairness on some of them, like the Sam's Club, it's my understanding that there's still a lease and people are paying, the Sam's Club people are still paying their lease. So it's their property, there's not a whole lot we can do there. Same things was for the Dominic's area as well. There was, I guess, without spending hours, there's a lot going on with the previous owners of that, and it's just been in recent years that we've had an opportunity to do some things. There's been various proposals, and different things have come and gone. As far as things like South Bay, that was turned down by or recommended to be turned down by the Plan Commission that I was chairing, and as well as the council. There's been a lot of different ideas, and there's currently some now that I think may work out well.
Okay, now we're going to move to Ward 7 and Robert Williams. There are multiple business properties sitting vacant for years. What would you like to do to rectify that situation?
I'd like to change a lot of things, but I think that we need to know as a community that most of the problems that we have had with a lot of these larger properties have been because we don't own them. And the people that do own them have chosen to not sell them or put them up for prices that nobody would pay. Dominic's property is one. For the first 5 or 6 years of the 13 years it's been vacant, it was owned by Dominic's, and they paid for it and everything else. Since that time, we've hired people to go out and market it. We've hired people to work on trade shows and things like that to invite people in, and I think that we need to continue that. Right now, for instance, we didn't do anything with downtown Rolling Meadows very well until we turned over the owners, and in the process of the owners being there, they ran out the post office because they wouldn't cut a deal with them to do things. At any rate, I think we need to continue what we're doing and work a little harder at it, maybe smarter.
Okay, Laura?
Thanks, Jill. So the question again was what we would like to see. I would like to see those properties being used and not being vacant, as I'm sure all of you would as well. I think that in order to be able to keep those properties occupied, we also have to be aware of what is retaining businesses here versus what is driving businesses away. I think that the Rolling Meadows Chamber of Commerce is an excellent resource that we have available to local businesses and larger businesses alike, and I would like to leverage those resources more going forward. I think it's important to continuously be surveying our business partners as well to make sure that we're doing everything that we can on the city's end to communicate what the requirements are on our end and what can make their businesses work more efficiently for us and for the residents. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And we're going to come back to Ward 3 and Laura.
Thank you. Can I ask, do you prefer if I stand?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, because I can't see your head either. So, thank you. Well, here's some good news. We have been working very hard to get new businesses in, and guess what? There's going to be a new restaurant coming up on Kirchhoff Road. The Amish Market is going to be opening on Plum Grove Road. We will be, if the development goes through, which there's quite a few meetings that are going to be made prior to the decision, at the old Dominic site, there's going to be open commercial spots there that we know is going to be a prime spot for people. When the two existing fire stations are vacated, those are also prime locations. But we already have quite a few businesses that should be opening in the next year to year and a half that will help to bring revenue to the city. And I think it's important to communicate with the existing business owners and get their feedback and their communication with their partners and other people that they know in the business field that might enjoy coming to our community also. And again, I am a member of the EDC committee with Glenn Adams, so we continue to work on that. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go to another question, and we're going to start with Deb Bannock. And the question that's come to me is, what are you going to do to get the post office to open a facility in Rolling Meadows?
Thanks. I don't know, the post office is a federal entity, so I really don't know how much Rolling Meadows has to play a part in bringing it back in here. I don't know why we lost it, I don't know why they left, and I don't know how we would bring it back. Me personally, I don't know. It'd be up to something, from what I understand, we've already checked into this. and they're not coming back. I know some people have problems with their mail being delivered, but I don't think there is anything personally that I could do to bring it back. Again, it's a federal entity, and I think they're the ones that have to decide whether or not it comes back. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna go over to Ward 5, and we're gonna hear from Glenn Adams about the post office.
Well, once again, what Deb said, there's, some simple facts over here that it's the federal government and, they make the decisions. The unfortunate thing is that when they were here before, when they were in that shopping center, the owners that own that shopping center, they came in and hit them with a large increase, and they said, look, it's not worth for us to stay here, and they left. The sad thing is that ownership that ownership had sold that shopping center, and one of the nice things that's happened with that shopping center is that the new owners are working hard to attract businesses in there. So the best thing that we could do is work with our city management, approach the post office, and see if there's some interest in them coming back into the city.
Okay, Ward 5, Joe Saffron, post office.
Well, I guess writing letters didn't work, but that doesn't mean we're going to stop. I know that they've approached Congress and have worked in progress to try and get the post office back. You can even question if the city knew that it was going to be losing the property because of high rent in that building, and if we had all these vacant properties, why were there some avenues to get the post office to relocate into one of those properties? That's the questions I would have at this point, but I can only keep pursuing what is already being done to try and get the post office back.
Okay, Joe Basessi, Ward 5.
John?
Sorry.
This is once again, I will echo what some of the other candidates have said. It's a federal thing. However, I do believe there are some things that we can continue to do. Just keep doing what we've been doing and continue to make sure that they know this is something the residents of Rolling Meadows would like and need. I think as we develop some of the vacant areas, maybe there's an opportunity for post office to go in one of those. And that's basically it.
Okay, Ward 7, Robert Williams.
The congressman that covers the area has been approached. He has been asked to take our plea back to the powers that be in the post office, but just a casual observation, our chances are probably slim to none at this point. What the folks here have said is absolutely true. It's a federal agency. They have decided to close it, and they don't like to say, well, we made a mistake and reopen it. That there's a definite resistance that way. I don't like it any better than anybody else, but those are the facts.
Okay, Laura.
Thank you. So speaking from my demographic, we love shipping and we love packaging and we love having things that are delivered to us. So incorporating the demand that shipping and receiving has become in our day-to-day life, I think is a really important component to take forth with a future proposal that we would bring to our Congressman Krishnamurthy and Sean Caston in the area. Because if we're able to provide a proposal that says maybe we don't necessarily want a traditional post office, but perhaps a post office that deals with the services that we need for our small businesses or for our residents, then that's something that the federal government and the post office general can actually work with. If we have something that's more general, then it's easier. It's an easier proposal to turn down. Thank you.
Okay, we're back to Ward 3, and we're gonna hear from Laura.
Thank you. When the post office closed, the city was pretty much just as much surprised and shocked as all the residents were. And it took us a while, and yes, the landlord there did raise the rent on themselves, but they wanted to leave. Their postage, as we know, is going up. They're selling, they don't have any money in their budget. So they did want to leave. We did have a town hall meeting at Park Central. A couple years it took us to get the postmaster to come to talk to us because he was avoiding us. And I asked him point blank, did you look at other locations in Rolling Meadows? And he brushed it off. So Dave Whitney has been spearheading. He's had petitions signed to help try and get some type of post office back. He will continue to work on it. I'm sure it won't be a full post office like in Arlington or Palatine, but we're hoping that maybe we can get some type of little substation somewhere or something. But this is a continuing effort upon the council.
Okay, Ward 3, Kevin O'Brien.
Great, thank you. I know of 2 parcels that might be ideal for this. We have a little location right here at the corner of Kirchhoff and Meadow that once the additional fire station's built is going to be open. So I think that I'm one for making efficiencies and non-duplication. So Dave and his team's already been running, trying to get the post office back. I think something we could leverage there, currently we have a government-owned fire station. Federal, state, or federal government, maybe governments could collaborate together and we could get a stripped down version of a post office at the corner of Meadow and Kirchhoff, right there. It'd be a non-tax revenue for the cities of or the citizens of Rolling Meadows, because the city owns that property. We could leverage, and it could be rent paid by the federal government back to the residents of Rolling Meadows, and have an opportunity right there for a post office. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to go on to our question number 3, and we're going to start in Ward 5 with Glenn Adams, and the question is, Rolling Meadows is a third of the size of surrounding communities. Why are our police department and fire department paid a higher mean salary? How would you monitor and reduce the effect of this phenomenon? You understand the question? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, we wound up getting into that situation over here when I was serving on city council in the past. And what got us into that situation was a city manager that didn't exactly make some of the best decisions. One of the things that happened at that period of time is our firefighters and our police officers, they were on like a 7-year step program. That city manager approached city council and said that, boy, everybody's switching over to a 5-year step program. And we unfortunately had believed him and switched over to a 5-year step program at his recommendation. And that put us in a position where we were wound up with some of the highest paid police officers and firefighters in the area. One of the things that did happen, later on is when we realized that that wasn't the case, that there were a lot of fire departments and police departments at 7 years, we reduced it back to 7 years.
Thank you. Joe Sanford?
Well, being hit with a question like that, that I have no reference on, I do understand the question as far as being involved with doing negotiations for union contracts and stuff like that, where you go around and you look at your surrounding area communities and villages the same size as yours, and you try to use that as a way to negotiate what your salary should be. Why Rolling Meadows is the top one for that? Again, I don't have an answer to it, and as being elected, you just sort of try to control through your vote of going against being, the top notch, but you want to have, a normal means like everyone else.
Hey, John Besessi.
Okay, yeah, I just actually found out about this very recently, and was kind of, a little bit shocked at seeing that, we do have the highest, pretty much the highest in the area and everything. I did a little bit of investigation, and from what I found out was, and this is anecdotal, but it was that some of the, they were worried about some of it was turnover, people just getting trained and leaving. But as a member of the council, I will do everything I can to try and make sure that these salaries get back in line, because the salaries also, the higher the salaries, the higher the pension. So that's it.
Okay, and now from Ward 7, we're going to hear from Robert Williams on the cost of the police and fire department.
This is one that I personally don't have that much knowledge on, but I do know that any of this, we are completely controlled by contracts and that we have with the with the police and with the fire department. We have just recently renegotiated those and with some success. Going back and changing things, that's the water's gone over the dam already. In that case, we can look to the future to control those expenses better and to perhaps maybe make the necessary changes in beginning salaries and ways that we can reward fire people and police. But it's done by contract, and that needs to be squared away. That's all I have.
Okay, Laura from Ward 7.
Thank you very much. First of all, I think that it's very important to pay for our services for police and fire, and I would never consider cutting back on their salaries or their pensions. So for those that are concerned about how much we pay towards our pensions, I would like to emphasize that our police and fire pensions are already halfway paid. We are on a plan to have them fully paid by 2040, and our Illinois Municipal Retirement Fund, which needs to be paid, it needs to be funded at least 90% by 2040. We're already at 95%, so Rolling Meadows is doing really well on that front. As far as what we can do with such a great force that we have for police and fire, we do have some agreements with other municipalities and other cities, and I think that that could be an excellent revenue source for us as a city to be able to utilize the excellent forces that we have to other communities. And then, as all of the other candidates have stated, going forward, making sure that we are looking for inefficiencies as necessary and reforming our forces as necessary in what their responsibilities are. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Now we're going to go back to Ward 3 and we're going to hear from Laura.
Thank you. I do believe that prior to my being on the council and everything too, there were negotiations with the unions, and the change in the STEP program and all of that had some bearing on it and things. But in my 6 years on council, I've sat through a few union negotiations. They're not easy, but we have made progress over the last few years and give and take on both ends. We have seen a lot of retirement from our upper positions, which has a big effect, so that the pays will adjust and everything like that. We're bringing on some new policemen, and I do believe, though, they continue to work with us when it's union negotiations and it's a difficult time. But I do believe that the quality of the fire department, the police department, cannot be unmatched by any other community. The service they give us, the protection they give us is unbelievable. So I think they're very worth their money. Thank you.
Okay, and now we're going to go to Kevin O'Brien from Ward 3 on the cost containment of salaries for police and fire.
Great, thank you. I think that's one of the many reasons and the chances I've had to talk with residents of why we love living in Rolling Meadows. Police, fire, first responders, the public services, and there's a cost that comes along with that. So sure, we can, as Mr. Williams said, we're into a contract period now. There's no change that can be made now. As Laura had mentioned as well, our population of firefighters and police, we're towards the higher end. Gentlemen and ladies of first responders are going into retirement ages. I think we've just hired 3 or 4 new candidates for the police department that are in the academy now. So that will be, it's all economical, is that there's a higher cost now because we're more of a veteran staff. The economies will change, just like the whole economy is any place, is that we've got younger staff coming on and join our first responders. So economically, it'll go in ebbs and flows. Right now, we tend to be at a high one. 2 years from now, when we've got a younger staff coming on board, we'll see the other side of it. Pensions are key, but I don't think anybody here, at least this is my own personal perspective, would want our services to change. So I would be for potentially revising the contracts in the future, but our services are top notch for our first responders, and I would fully support that avenue.
Okay, now we're going to hear from Ward 3, Deb Bannock, on the salaries.
The salaries are the way they are because the council approved them to be that through all the contracts that have come along. The men, the women on both forces, they deserve every penny that they get. Would I ever want to change it on them? No. Absolutely not. Are we the highest? Well, then they deserve it. Our town deserves the best protection it gets from our police, from our fire, even from our public works. Let's not forget, we have 4 unions now. We have 4 unions in Rolling Meadows. Public Works, the non-union people, police and fire. And we have that to protect our employees. All I can say to you is, going forward, the men deserve what they get, the women deserve what they get. And would I take away anything of their salaries? Absolutely not. They deserve it.
Okay, let's hold the applause till the end, and we're going to go to the next question. We're going to start with Joe Saffron from Ward 5. The question I've received is, zoning was not changed for South Bay. Would you change it for the mosque, and if you would, why? Oh, okay, apologies. Let's change the question to the next one I have. It says, there have been many comments made by the city council that it's a shame that more residents do not come to the council meetings. People work and children can't afford to do it. What are you going to do to get better in touch with all of your residents? So that we're going to start with Joe Saffron from Ward 5 on that.
Well, I'm hoping that being available to go around, you know, since I have a small ward, I can go around personally to, you know, anyone that calls, anyone that sends me an email. I like the involvement, but that also means that I'm not limited to my ward. You know, I was not limited to speaking out to former council members when I had ideas. I think involvement in the community is what draws everybody together. We are starting to see more involvement in the last, couple months with what's been going on with the former Dominic's property, and even this format today has a larger turnout than it did the last time I was here as a spectator. So I think we are striving in the right direction.
Thank you. John Besessi,
Thank
same
you.
question.
Yes, actually, this is one of the main reasons I am running for Alderman. Is really the communicate what the city, what's going on in the city. I mean, so often we hear, take the mayoral thing. How many people knew that there were going to be potentially 15 new restaurants that they're working on? I see one hand. I mean, there's all these things that are going on that people don't know about. I don't think it's that our council and city doesn't want to share. I think it's just that we haven't put enough time into thinking of what vehicles do we need to do that, such as potentially Alderman, and I know I'll be doing this, setting up regular town hall meetings, putting stuff out on Facebook, with the topics so that people can see this stuff. Not everybody uses Facebook. There needs to be other, more traditional ways of people seeing this. So,
Thank you.
kind of where I'm at.
We're going to go to Robert Williams from Ward 7 on getting people involved.
I would suggest to everybody that they watch the council meetings if possible, but that does not get the communication that I would like to see us have here. I'm with my friend here. I think we need more town hall meetings, and I fully intend in the next year, were I to be elected, to hold some town hall meetings where the people of my ward can come, ask the questions, make their statements or state their beliefs, and get them either confirmed or denied, as the case might be. There hasn't been enough informal repartee between the council and the citizens. I want to see more of that, and I think that is the only material way that we can really put a dent in this and get a better cooperation, better teamwork between the residents and the council.
Okay, thanks. Laura.
Thank you. First, I would like to say that much of the information is actually readily available. The City of Rolling Meadows won an Illinois Policy Sunshine Award for transparency. I don't think transparency is necessarily the problem. I think the issue is making sure that information is communicated, and not just communicated in a poster or in a letter, but going to where people are and also meeting people where they are. So I, for example, as your alderman, will make the effort to communicate, whether that means going door to door, whether that means it goes to churches, whether that means hablando en su propio idioma porque no entiendes inglés. If you do not understand English, I also speak Spanish, which about a third of our population and our residents do. I think having translated resources in Polish and in Spanish and in other languages is also a crucial initiative for us within the next 4 years to make sure that all are included in understanding what is available to them and what kind of decisions are being made at the city level.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to go to Ward 3 and Laura.
Thank you. Actually, I love this question. Being in this position, it's a people position. You have to be willing to listen, and you have to be willing to put what your own thoughts are aside. And so I have enjoyed getting the calls from the residents. My husband might always not like that at 8 a.m. on a Sunday morning, but I've got them at 8 a.m., I've got them at late at night, I've got them weekends. When we lost power right after Thanksgiving for some residents in Ward 3 especially were out for 3 days, some of them, I specifically went around and did well-being checks on homes, offering to take in people to our warming centers, letting them know. But the other thing too is I have many times at council meetings thanked the residents that have shown up when it's a hot topic, but asked if they would please return when the topics are kind of boring, so that they continue to be informed. So I continue to put myself out there, and I hope that people realize that they can always reach out to me in person, whatever ward it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to go to Kevin O'Brien from Ward 3.
Great, thanks. That's in my DNA, even my professional career is customer relations. So I think that's what it really is. To echo what Mr. Bessesi said and Mr. Rose, I'm a huge fan of town halls. Is that just bringing in people to talk or have coffee at Reps or Dunkin' Donuts or something like that in Ward 3, I'm 24/7. To much chagrin, some people are like, why are you sending me emails at 3 o'clock in the morning? Well, because I got it at 11 o'clock at night when I was already sleeping, but I'll be up by 4 to get back to you. So I really think that's the big thing. And it really is. Each of us, even personally, I have high items that I'm interested in. And so I think through the exposure of the meetings, the hot topics, sure, more topics. The Dominic slot will get hot topics. The new residential places will get hot topics. But it really is, and you've shown by your interest in being here today, of knowing the inner workings. Is it not everything that comes by the city council is going to be the Dominics, but it might be something down the street that could have an impact. So I think 100% open communication, town halls, emails, voicemails, texts, whatever needed is key to success of moving us forward.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to, last person from Ward 3 is Deb Bannock.
How to communicate with 25,000 people is very difficult. We can have town hall meetings, we can have Dunkin' Donuts, we can have coffee, we can go to Reps and have a beer. Technology is what's going to open the door to everybody out there. We have to figure out how to get to everybody. We have a large elderly communication gap out here. A lot of the elderly people do not know how to use Facebook, a computer. So it's a hard thing to go for. But I would more than willing to help anybody that I can. I myself have just retired. So I do have more time to go out and hopefully help the elderly, who I consider M1. That's all I got.
Okay, and the last person to answer this question is from Ward 5, Glenn Adams.
When I was an alderman before, one of the things that I did do is I had town hall meetings, and you know what, it's a two-way street. When I had town hall meetings the first time, I went and I put flyers out on every home in the 5th Ward area. I put out flyers over at the multifamily dwellings. And what I had was 25 to 40 people that showed up for the town hall meetings, which I didn't think was, all that good of a turnout. But I did value the input that I had from residents and worked on, getting those issues taken care of. What I did find out that worked out best is you pick a specific topic and I put out flyers and asked residents for their opinion, and then I would get the feedback from the residents and use that, you know, as far as my how I voted on certain issues.
Okay, great. So now we have time for about 2 more questions, and then we'll do a 1-minute closing statement. So this question is going to start with John Bissesi from Ward 3. And the question is, what will you do for Rolling Meadows that no one else has tried, and how will you get it done cost effectively?
Wow.
Innovation, innovative. What
Okay.
will you do for Rolling Meadows that no one else has tried to do, and how will you get it done cost effectively?
Okay, well, we've tried a lot of things. Jeez. Okay, see, a lot of the ideas I had 8 years ago are now being done, such as the Community Events Foundation. Being a volunteer all these years, I really enjoyed all the things that made Rolling Meadows Rolling Meadows. One thing I'd like to do is also really go back on the ad hoc, to form an ad hoc committee regarding some of the communication things that we have with some of the residents. I've noticed what we've done with the one for the comprehensive plan, and I think really seeing what type of vehicles there are out that people want to get their information is important. So that's one thing I would do to try and address the big communication gap that we seem to be having.
Thank you. Ward 7, Robert Williams.
Wow. To say the least, wow. Yeah. I cannot think of one thing that I would do, except the only thing that I really can do and hopefully do effectively is to try and represent the feelings of the people in my ward. That demands then that I try to stay in as close communication with them as I can, and that they try to stay in close communication with me. Because you can get misled by the more vocal amongst us. We're all trying. We're all trying everything that we know, and anything new that comes along, I'm quite sure we are open to. I don't have anything further than that, other than we'll do our best.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you. I consider Rolling Meadows to be very well positioned towards green initiatives and making sure that we are more efficient with the current technologies and resources that we have today. Just recently, we had Tesla put in a couple of their charging stations over by Meyer, as some of our individuals from the Planning and Zoning Committee will remember. I think we can continue with those types of initiatives. We have some representatives from the Rolling Meadows Backyard Citizens for Chickens here today as well, which is a sustainable type of living initiative that no one else in the area is currently looking into, so that would be a new idea for us as well. And continuing with other types of initiatives that really are homegrown and wanted by our families and also our older generations as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go to Ward 3, and we're going to hear from Laura.
Thank you. Something that I would love to put together, and I've talked to some residents and to business owners, is a business communication forum. I would like to get existing business owners and potential new ones over, have a sit down. Let's get together every few months or twice a year, whatever it is, and share with one another what's working, what's not working. What is the city not doing or providing for you that you need, that we can then work on that and make it better for future businesses to come. We bring more business in, it helps with the tax for the city and saves the residents money. So I think that would be important to have that communication with existing and new businesses and to offer that open forum.
Thank you. Kevin O'Brien from Ward 3.
Thank you. One of the big things I'd be most interested in is knowing why businesses aren't selecting Rolling Meadows. As we had talked about beforehand, is that we were number 2 on Caterpillar's list, which was news to me as well. I didn't even know that we were up in the top 5 for consideration. I'd like to know why businesses aren't selecting Rolling Meadows. I think in order to continue growth in the future, the positive direction, we have to know why places aren't picking here. So the other big thing I think is the reason I threw my name into the hat that I said in my opening statement. I don't think it's a new idea. I think we just need to work collaboratively. as council members, as residents, is really have that collaborative effort. So more along the lines of collaboration and full transparency at the meetings. But I would love to know, as all of us call home Rolling Meadows, why people are not and what we can do to change that.
Thank you. Deb Bannock, one innovation you'd like to see implemented and how you'll do it.
I would like to see more help given for homeowners. I walk around Ward 3 a lot. I love to walk. And I look at the homes, and some of them are in such disarray. It's either these people don't have the money, don't have the means to get help. You walk by you can't even see their front doors. There's trees in front of it. We need to be able to get them help, and I don't mean a handyman. I mean, there has to be something in our budget that we can give so many homeowners a year help, whether it's cutting down trees or it's cutting their grass. You know, maybe someone's been ill and they just can't do it. There has to be something more that we can give to our homeowners, and I mean ages across the board, because they definitely need it.
Thank you. Now we're going to go to Ward 5, Glenn Adams.
Well, as far as new initiatives, I think there are initiatives that are currently, underway right now. And the major thing that we've talked about is economic development, and I think we're making strides over here from the standpoint that we did hire a business advocate that's going out there meeting with businesses, getting their opinions about what they like about the city, what they don't like about the city, and it's a matter of taking that information and pulling it back into the Economic Development Committee and City Council, and taking a look at if there's any kind of changes that we need to make to make sure that businesses that are here that are happy, and I agree with what was said earlier, is that businesses that looked at Rolling Meadows, what was the deficit that made them choose to go someplace else, and see if there's a way we can improve that.
Thank you. And now we're going to get Joe Safford from Ward 5. Sorry about that.
Well, I do like all these ideas, and they are great ideas, but I like to start small. I like to do prototype ideas that might be ward effective. It might be a specific problem that might be in one certain ward, and it doesn't have to be voted on and ran through the entire city system. Even if it is a citywide problem, start small, figure out what you need to do to improve the ideas, and then work it out to be a full-blown project that solves a problem. I'm losing track here, but sorry.
Thank you. That was awesome. Okay, we're going to go on to our last question, and it is, we're going to start with Robert Williams from Ward 7, and the question I have is, are you aware that building inspectors used to be very helpful, but now are making it very hard for businesses and residents? What would you do about this?
Absolutely, we're aware of it. Rolling Meadows, Arlington Heights has not got such a good reputation either, but Rolling Meadows has got a pretty sour reputation when it comes to items, and that entire department has been put under the Public Works area and has been revamped and is continuing to be worked on right now, including all of their mechanical things and the items that so that you don't have to fill out 20 sheets of paper just to get something simple done. It's not going to happen overnight. They are working on it. It is recognized by the city and by everybody in it, and it will be worked on and will be solved.
Thank you, Lara.
So part of being your alderman is making sure that I would be a representative to our agencies and staff on Public Works. And this would be part of one of the issues that we would bring up with Public Works. You can always reach out to them individually, but having the weight of an alderman coming up and saying that this is an issue and that it needs to be addressed will be the most effective way to solve it.
Okay, we're gonna go to Laura from Ward 3 now.
Thank you. As Alderman Williams said, we are aware of the problem and we are working aggressively toward correcting this, and it does take some time, but we have made improvements. And we are totally revamping the Community Development Department, as has been mentioned numerous times. It's kind of been put together with Public Works. I've had contractors reach out to me with permit issues. I have taken those issues to City Hall, gone over the paperwork, and gotten things resolved. But we also have to remember too that not everybody always brings everything they are supposed to bring. So if people can do that in a timely fashion, that will expedite the whole process also. So we need to work together on it. But yes, it is a problem that we've had, and we are currently working to make great strides on it.
Okay, Kevin O'Brien from Ward 3.
Great, thank you. This is actually perfect timing. About a week ago, I was enjoying a dinner and had a nice lengthy conversation with someone that's interested in expanding in the area. And hopefully this is part of the plan that Mr. Williams and Laura had talked about in the correction is they just said, please tell me what I need to do. Is the inspectors will come out and say, you've got A, B, C, D, E, F, and G wrong, but how do I fix it? And that's what has really resonated with me, is I think anybody that wants to expand into their home, their business here, work collaboratively with the city, is that it sounds like almost now it's done piecemeal. Is that, okay, here, fill out this form, but then when you get to that step, you're told about a form that was supposed to be done earlier. If we can have a consolidated package that we could send to, here, this is what you're looking for. Was for the elections was great. I can speak from that. They said, here's a packet, you can kind of go along that way. But a one-stop shop, rather than throwing up barriers and saying you have to fix A through J on a punch list, tell them what needs to be fixed versus just, hey, you've got to fix it. So they don't spend more time and resources fixing it to find out it wasn't fixed the way the inspector wanted it done.
Okay, thank you. Deb Vanek.
My true opinion on this is I don't believe that community development and public works should have been made one. They're two different departments totally. Community development is very short-staffed, and they've been short-staffed for a long time. So everything falls on their shoulders when somebody's not happy. We need more inspectors. We're not getting them. This needs to be addressed. I honestly believe that we need to go back to one community development and one public works. We need a director for each one, not one for both. Fred Boat is a wonderful man, but let's face it, he's not community development. And we need a director for community development. We need to overhaul that department, but not by combining two together.
Thank you. From Ward 5, Glenn Adams.
I think the major thing that's needed is, clear-cut understanding that when it comes to doing inspections, it's all about customer service and it's about helping the customers. One of the things that I was very, very proud of when I was an alderman before is that I had an opportunity to meet with some business leaders, and one of the things that they had said is that they really loved Rolling Meadows. They said Rolling Meadows was a great community to work with. They said that the inspectors were great and did a great job with helping them sort through issues. And some of them had some negative comments to make about other communities. And somewhere along the line, we lost that customer service focus, and that's one of the things that we need to get back with with our inspectors, and make sure that they're working with customers to make sure that things are done correctly.
Thank you. Joe Safran.
Well, if the department is being revamped, and I attended the meetings and heard the same thing, I think that as a board, they should be a little bit more eased when you have a new business coming in and they want to develop and they want to make changes and develop in the community, but then they have all these roadblocks put in front of them before they could even open the door. If they could make a an avenue where they can actually make these improvements and changes while they're getting the doors open and while the department is being rehashed, might be something to look into to welcome more businesses into the community.
Okay, thank you. And our last person on this question is John Besessi from Ward 5.
Actually, this is one of the areas that I'm very interested in. I was on the Plan Commission for the last 16 years, and that was underneath community development. And when they added it together, frankly, I have not seen any negative change by not having a director of community development. What I do believe, though, is that they do need potentially more staffing. They need more inspectors. We need to continue to go through our ordinances and look at our ordinances, get rid of what's outdated, get rid of what's cumbersome for our businesses, and really try to streamline the process for whether it's permits or inspections, not having to wait for an inspector for sometimes a day or two. I did a simple deck, and I had to wait 3 days for somebody to come out and do the inspection for a hole. So,
Okay, thank
that's it.
you for sharing. And we're going to go on to our final closing comments. And we're going to start with Laura Sonoyka from Ward 7, and she has 1 minute to give her final statement.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Lara Sonoyka, and I'm running for Alderman in the 7th Ward. Earlier, I neglected to give a little bit more about me. During my day job, I work as a financial fraud investigator downtown. My job is to essentially identify criminals who are attempting to manipulate our markets. I'm very thorough and very detail-oriented. I plan to bring those skills as well to the role of Alderman, in addition to communicating with everyone in the ward and in the community at large to make sure that these issues are explained in a way that makes sense and that we can make decisions, good decisions going forward. Again, please hope to get your vote again on April 2nd. My name is Lara Sonoyka.
Thank you. Laura Majakis.
Thank you. First off, I'd like to just say that I have thoroughly enjoyed being the 3rd Ward Alderman for the last 6 years, and I really do hope to continue it for the next 4 years. I have learned that it was a lot more than I anticipated it would be, but a very wise man, Mr. John Diaz, once said to me in the very beginning that we should be able to bring our ideas, bring the residents' ideas together, talk to them, or talk to one another on the council, and if we don't agree, we should be able to discuss it together, work together, and at the end of the day, be able to leave and still be friends. So I believe that that's important to have in the council, and I believe that's important to listen to the residents, and I really hope that I can continue to work for you guys and be there for you and continue to see Rolling Meadows just grow better and better. All the events with the Community Events Foundation has brought so many outside residents from different cities just to come to our festivals. So we're getting more attention to our little city, so thank you.
Thank you. Ward 3, Kevin O'Brien, 1 minute.
Great, thank you. That is the reason I'm here, is to hear from the residents. That's what I've heard over and over for not just the last 4 months or so since I've thrown my ring in the hat, but for the last probably 4 or 5 years here, is that residents in the 3rd Ward don't feel that they're being heard. So that's why I throw my hat in the ring. I think one time somebody came to me over the past and said, hey, don't you want to see eye-to-eye people with the people on as the new mayor or on the city council that you may be elected to? And I think my answer took them back a little bit. I said, no, I don't necessarily want to see eye-to-eye because that means we're the status quo. I want to actually have professional discussions back and forth because our ward's different than where Ward 7 is, Ward 5. So collectively, we need to have collaboration based on diversity because out of collaboration and diversity breeds innovation and changes that continue to move the city of Rolling Meadows to the future. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Deb Bannock from Ward 3.
I'm going to make this real simple. I want to thank you all for coming out today, listening to all of us. I hope you make a decision that prompted you from maybe one of our discussions today. I wish you the best, and I hope that you all out there and vote on April 2nd this year.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to Ward 5, Glenn Adams, 1 minute.
Well, you're going to have a tough decision to make over here because one of the things that when you listen to all the comments that have been made by everybody running for office, the one thing's clear is that you have a lot of people that care about the city of Rolling Meadows. Once again, I've been a lifelong resident here at the 5th Ward and served as an alderman for 14 years and learned an awful lot of things that, where areas where you need to ask questions and whatnot and keep mistakes from happening, once again. The major thing that I've always been one that really keeps an open mind when talking with other aldermen about particular issues and understand them, and I've always been an individual that works with people to try and come up with a consensus. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Joe Saffron, Ward 5, your closing comments, 1 minute.
Well, being new to this and floundering through it, like all the ideas that I've heard today, and if I can bring forth any of them that definitely need to be voiced, I will. I don't think that we should go back to the past because the changes haven't been made with the current council. Our future needs to be voiced and heard, and that's one of the things that I'm hoping to do if I was elected. And if I haven't swayed anyone's vote today, I hope that I can pass it along to John, because I think between the two of us, we're going to be in constant communication to try and make the city better.
Thank you. John Massesi, Ward 5.
Thanks, Joe. Yes, as I said before, I'm running for Alderman of 5th Ward because I care about this city. I grew up in Des Plaines, met my wife here in Rolling Meadows some over 30 years ago. She was part of one of the founding families of this city, fell in love with this city. We decided to buy our house in this city, raise our kids in this city, and one of the things that I really would like to do as Alderman is preserve the things that make this city special, potentially bring back 1 or 2 things. People hear me, my little pet project. I want the chipper program back because I felt that's something that it not only provided a service for the residents, it kind of got people to, it was kind of that whole spirit of, okay, coming around to Chipper Week, let's get this done. All goes out on the road, and on there, everybody's houses look real nice and everything. So please vote for me on the 2nd.
Thank you. And Robert Williams, Ward 7, final comments.
I want to second what Glenn said, that I think you've got some good choices up here and some people that really, really care about this city. Started from Denver, where I was born and raised, San Antonio, Baltimore, Minneapolis, and down here, and I've lived 2 places in Rolling Meadows since moving here. Presently, again, president of the Fairfax Village Association. I've been on the board there since 1995. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for considering us. I really, really hope that we can accomplish some of the things that will serve you the best, and most of those are to make your opinions known. That's our whole job, to make your opinions known to the rest of the council and to try and keep you included in the good luck this city has had to this point.
Thank you. On behalf of the League of Women Voters, I'd like to thank you for actively participating in your democracy. Be sure to vote on Tuesday, April 2nd, and let's give these candidates a round of applause.